Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official student-led podcast of the Marriott Student Review, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today.
Welcome to another episode of the Measuring Success Right podcast. I'm your host, Allison Pope, and today I'm joined by Kate Jeffries. Thanks so much for being here, Kate.
I'm excited to be here.
No, it's a really unique thing because I feel like a lot of our guests are usually like faculty or alumni, but we love getting the student perspective every once in a while. I think that we can gain just as much valuable information from students than we can with people who've had a little more experience in the business world or in their work life. I think it's kind of a beautiful place to be. So just like to start us off, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of what your educational and professional journey has been like so far?
I'm originally from Oregon, and I've always known I wanted to do business-related things. In high school, I was very into accounting. I did a lot of things related to that track. One of the things I had to do to get into the business school and the accounting track at BYU was take an IS class, an information systems class. And I took that class. It was IS 201, which I think most people hate. And I loved it. I immediately felt so powerful that I could make a website blue. I started diving deeper into that. I took a break from school for a year and a half to serve an LDS mission. During that time away from school, it became clearer that I wanted to do information systems and I wanted to focus on data analysis. I ended up getting into the junior corps, did that last year, and now I'm a senior, so I'm almost graduated, but I'm actually headed to grad school in Pittsburgh. So I still have a little more school ahead of me, but almost there with my bachelor's.
That's really exciting. I feel like a lot of students have a very similar journey of having such a certain idea of what they want to do at the beginning and then, kind of switching it. I feel like a lot of people go on missions and then end up changing their minds with a lot of things. But it's amazing that you're able to refine what you want to do, within the business school. I mean, IS is such a great program that we have. I mean, they all are great, really. I've heard that you have some interest in Formula One racing, and that really stood out to me because when I think of information systems, I don't know a whole lot about it, but, we think websites or very broad, vague things that just in general people go into, but Formula One is a very unique niche way to take this degree into a career possibly. So can you tell me what initially drew you to F1, what your interests were, and what your goals are for where you want to take that interest?
First and foremost, I'm just a fan. I've been a fan of the sport for a long time, and I just started watching it because I had interest in cars that could drive really fast. Mm-hmm. As I've now gotten into information systems and have decided I really want to focus on this real-time cloud-based data analysis and technology that's coming out and being developed at such a rapid pace, Formula One is kind of where the most advanced technology for that is. Mm-hmm. Within cars, aerospace, and medicine is where we see a lot of growth in the data analysis world. The research project that I'm doing right now, when I was deciding what I wanted to do it on, to further my career, I'm a fan of Formula One. It is a perfect gateway to talk about these cool technologies that are coming out right now with real-time data and explain how those could impact regular business sectors. I think we're starting to see a bit of that. And I wanted to write a research paper on that and how I think Formula One is going to end up shaping business with AI and real-time data speed.
I feel like when people think of business, information systems, or accounting, they think of one certain career path. They're like, okay, great, you're going to work for corporate America, or you're going to work for whatever technology company, Apple, Google, Microsoft, whatever. But I love that you're able to find something within that fits your unique interest. Maybe is something that not a lot of people think about. Oh, I can do this. This is something I don't have to drive a car really fast to be in the Formula One world. I think that's something unique to be able to figure out. And I think that's something that I would love for students to be able to do for themselves, to be able to find those niche interests that they can take their education and turn it into. So I just wanted to ask, like, what has being in the Marriott School, like, you're kind of finishing up, which is so exciting. Happy for you. I mean, you still got grad school, but that's a huge first big step. Being in the Marriott School, what has it taught you about applying your education to a real life business context and figuring out, okay, I can learn about this stuff. How am I going to turn this into a career?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question. That's why we're all in school, is to get a career in what we want. I think BYU does an incredible job with transferring what we're learning in school to getting us to apply it. The information systems program is really project-based, so it's like group projects, group websites, creating things and showcasing them in mini case competitions throughout the year. That helped me so much, even just this summer in my internship, having school to apply to the outside world, because I had worked in an actual Scrum environment of creating something from start to finish. I had been able to create projects that I was able to talk about in internships or even just like with coworkers. So I think BYU does a really good job of focusing on, yes, this is what you need to learn, but like don't focus on the grade, focus on how this could impact your career. I feel like I hear a lot of professors say that. I just think it's helpful to have such incredible hands-on experiences in school and be able to do full projects and create what you want to create while in college.
Absolutely. Hands-on learning and like experiential learning is so important to get. And I feel like that's something that BYU and like the Marriott School specifically does so well, is providing students with those resources and opportunities to get started. So you're not just doing things for a grade, you're doing it for the opportunity and to learn about how am I going to transfer this. So kind of going off of that, like what have been some resources or opportunities that you have found within BYU or the Marriott School that have kind of helped you grow in those ways?
Yeah, before I was even in the business school, something that really helped me like immediately start growing my network and thinking about what I wanted to do was all of the different clubs that the Marriott School has. So I like joined the majors I was interested in and met a ton of people. Now that I'm in the program, there's all kinds of like meeting with companies and having their boards talk about what they do and what their day-to-day looks like. A lot of women in business meetings talking about how you can be a successful leader and a Christ-like leader. And so I think those have helped me a lot. And then having the experience to work at BYU and just work with professionals in the industry right now while I'm in college has been so awesome. It's been incredible to be able to be in school, but then also be applying literally like what I learned in my classes last week to my job. So that's fun.
No, I love that. I love how much like BYU makes college feel already like kind of that transition. It's not just you're focusing on school and learning things. It's like, okay, you're learning these things, but let's push you to learn how you're going to get out there and meet all these people who have their careers that you're kind of interested in and figure out what this transition is going to be like for you to go from an educational context to kind of the business and like real life context. And I love how BYU is able to do that with all the resources you've said. Clubs are really helpful, and just all of the connections that BYU has is kind of magical. We always like to ask our guests about the Marriott School values. So we have faith in Christ, integrity, respect for all, and excellence. And so the one that we kind of want to focus about today with you is excellence in particular. I mean, I think excellence is just all about going above and beyond, not just doing the bare minimum of, okay, I'm just going to graduate and I'm just going to find a job that pays the bill. But it's like really going above and beyond and figuring out, okay, how can I make the most of my experience here? And I feel like that's what you've been able to do with finding those niche subjects that you're interested in and going after it. So what can you tell us about your journey and what your perception of excellence has been in your life, or just your goals for that in particular?
I think out of all of the values, this is one that has taken me a long time to figure out what it means for me. I think like a lot of kids, especially like hardworking, achieving kids that come to BYU, I think we all have kind of a perfectionist mindset in the back of our heads. I totally do. When I got here, it kind of shattered my reality of being top student, top achieving. And I was like, oh, everyone here is that was my ideals of excellence before. I kind of had to wrestle with like, okay, well, that's not viable. Like, what is excellence? And so I've created this motto for myself that it's like progress over perfection. When I think of excellence, I just think of how am I growing on a day-to-day, and how is that growth impacting my surroundings? Am I doing school and work in a way that I'm adding value to either myself, my company, or the people around me? How am I growing to be a more excellent person each day? As I've applied that view of excellence on my life, I feel like it's helped me a lot to focus more on personal growth rather than checking boxes, because I'm a very check-boxy person. I love a to-do list. But I think remembering that progress is really what we're getting at when we talk about excellence.
I love that. I think progress is such a good indicator of how well you're growing as a person, because excellence is all about pushing yourself and trying to be better. If you're amazing and perfect and staying that way, you're not progressing. That is an interesting way to look at excellence. I love how you measured that. And that goes into kind of the last thing we like to ask our guests. You know, this podcast is about measuring success and getting insights from different people about what success looks like to them and how they measure it. So you've kind of touched on that with excellence, but as you're starting your professional career and trying to grow and learn, pushing away from just education and going into a business context, I'd love to hear about how you've developed a sense of how you measure your own success, or what you look for, how you would like to measure success, and how you would feel successful in the future.
I think it comes down to measuring that progress, but I can lay it out in multiple ways. One way that is really important, I'm currently taking an ethics class for business. And something that I had never really thought about before this class was, is it really success if you're compromising your values and ethics? And so I think that's something I've recently added into how I'm measuring success, making sure that if I'm creating something new, it's not just about metrics and what I want to accomplish, but that it's in line with who I want to be and the values I want to keep. I measure success through the people around me and the impact I can make on them. Something that I really appreciate about the business school here, and that has definitely shaped my perspective on success, is there's like a strong focus on Christ-like leadership, of like how to be a disciple of Christ in the business world and treat your team members or just the people you collaborate with respect. Another important thing for success is making sure that the people around you, you value them, you respect their opinions, because the only way you're gonna gain more success and become who you want to be is by collaboration and listening to other people's opinions. It's so important to iterate and collaborate and take feedback. Otherwise, like you mentioned, we're just gonna be kind of stuck. So yeah, I think definitely those are recently what I've been using to measure success, is just holding true to my values, working my hardest to be a Christ-like disciple and leader, and then making sure that I'm being respectful and receptive to feedback that I'm receiving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that making sure that you have values and that you're sticking to them is such a huge way to stand out and to be an example and to be successful. I love that you measure success that way. I think that's beautiful. Have you had any specific experiences or moments where you've had to put that into context, or what made you learn to measure success in that way?
I mean, there's been so many times, right, where you like just kind of redefine and define what success is to you. Last year in the junior core, at the end of each semester, you do a huge week-long group project. My first semester group, we were like, rather than focused on numbers and what we needed, like obviously you have to be diligent and complete everything, but rather than focusing on the grades, we talked about who had what strengths, who had what weaknesses. We were so willing to collaborate and learn from one another and take feedback. That team I was in was very successful, even metrics wise. It all stemmed from having that Christ-like leadership within our group and holding true to what we believed in and working so hard, yet taking feedback from those around us. And I had just never experienced that in school prior. Like, I'd been in group projects, but it had always been like, because we have to.
Yeah.
So having that experience of we were all in this major because we wanted to be, it's like our first semester, we're going to work hard. And then focusing on just like how we could become our best selves and learn the most. It like completely flipped around my perspective of what a good team looks like and what you need to do to be successful. The second we just started focusing on our interpersonal relationships and how we could help one another, our team skyrocketed. I thought that was really cool.
Absolutely. Learning how to work well with others is such an important skill. And I love that you had that experience. Now that you're kind of near the end of like BYU, as you said, you're about to graduate. It's very exciting. You've been able to have these experiences and you've been able to kind of grow and learn, like how you measure success or excellence and all these things. What are some like key takeaways or general advice that you would share with students just starting the business program?
That's such a good question. First and foremost, something that I still wrestle with is comparison is the thief of joy. Just focus on your own journey and your own learning. BYU is incredible because it is filled with kids that are going to be successful and are already successful in what they're doing. And so I think sometimes, especially like starting out the business school, you're like, how has everyone done all of this? More so, it's just important to like learn from them. It's just better to learn from your peers rather than compare yourself to them because you're on your own path and you will do wonderful things even if they look different. Focus on progressing rather than being perfect and just work your hardest to learn what you want to learn and reach the goals that you want to reach even if they look different from those around you. Be grateful and receptive to everything around you. As I'm coming to the end of college, it's like I'm starting to be like, oh, this is kind of sad. Like, I love being in this sandbox of learning and having professors and faculty and students that are so willing to help you grow. And so just like taking that in and soaking that in while it's so easily available.
No, those are wonderful. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with is really understanding and coming to terms with the fact that other people's successes are not your failures.
Yeah.
Like, again, you've mentioned perfectionism a lot, and I do think that that is something that's really prevalent at BYU and in universities in general, with all these people from all these different backgrounds all over the world who've had all these different experiences, and trying not to compare that to what you've been through, and just taking that and being like, that's amazing that they did that. Now I want to push myself to have these experiences. I think that's a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much, Kate, for being here today and giving us your insights. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into another episode of Measuring Success Right. Thank you for listening to the Measuring Success Right podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss the next interview. The Measuring Success Right podcast is a production of the Marriott Student Review. This episode was produced by Stuart Bird, Allison Pope, Sarah Bird, Taya Wolf Hobson, and Jackson Berthold. Sound design and audio engineering by James Call. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not reflect the official views or opinions of Brigham Young University or The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.